This video is a tutorial on how to use the financial planning calculator. And the purpose of this particular calculator is to help you plan the growth of your business, to help both plan as well as manage the growth of your business is probably the right way of putting it. So this Excel spreadsheet has 3 tabs. We'll begin on the first tab on the left called System Allocation. And at this point in this first tab, it's pretty straightforward. This tab actually does not influence any of the other tabs, any of the numbers. But this first tab is simply here for you to begin to collect your systems so that you can begin to just model out what the expectation is in terms of performance for each one of your setups or plays in your playbook. So if you have a monthly target goal that you want to reach, what does each setup have to do or perform in order to get to that goal? So when we talk about goals and achieving goals, it's great to be able to work backwards, right? So if we want to make $10,000 in this trading month, then what do we need to have happen with our setups? But this has to be, of course, rooted in reality. So I can put any fictitious number I want, but if the numbers don't match up with reality, then this is simply daydreaming. So the key is to have done the exercise of journaling and having captured a significant sample size so that the numbers reflected in here are reflective of reality. Okay, so you may have multiple trading systems or setups that you're trading in your playbook. You'd enter them here. You would enter in the contribution goal. So how much of that $10,000 would this setup be bringing in? The revenue goal for each one, that's calculated dynamically. How many opportunities you typically see in a month's time. What's the average return per trade? That's an important metric that we're always trying to capture. The expectancy, that is, and then that would be the potential that's calculated for you. All right, so this will give you a rough idea on whether or not you can actually make this $10,000 monthly goal. So once we get to this first stage, then we can begin our business planning. We take a step back and we basically build a financial income plan. All right, so here we're going to list all of our income and we're going to list all of our expenses. So all the cells in yellow are the ones that you'll want to update. And I'll give you kind of an overview. So the first important one is, what's your beginning account balance? You can enter in whatever you want there. Secondly, how much risk do you want to put on per trade? Is it 1% of your portfolio you want to risk per trade, or something less than that? Let's say it's 0.5%, right? So I can enter in 0.5%. You'll see the numbers changing dynamically there. That means if I'm risking 0.5%, I should put in 50% there. If I enter in 0.5%, then on a per trade basis, once again I put in 5% that time. Let's fix that one more time. Let's put in 5%. 0.5%. Okay, we're risking $250 per trade. And so they'll play with some of these numbers here around the amount of working capital you want to limit in terms of risk. Don't need to play with that too much. Now enter into this spreadsheet the number of opportunities you actually have available to you, how many you can actually capture realistically, right? So let's say, again, this example here, there are 20 setups that happen, but because none of us are perfect, you may not be able to capture all 20. So what's the percentage you're actually able to capture? Out of those 20, let's say you capture 15 of them. So you're batting 75% there, right? Type in your winners and losers. And here under this cell here is the average RPT growth target. That means average return per trade target. Over time, as you begin to trade your system and setups more, you may be able to squeeze out more of an edge here, right? So as you're constantly practicing your execution, as you're practicing reading the markets and anticipating and adapting, then you may be able to eke out incremental gains on this return per trade. And this is a goal as a trader, is try to maximize the effectiveness and profitability of your system. So you may want to put some goal targets in there too. And you can change that number. Finally, your gross profit target, you can enter that in there. And then this is the actually calculated based upon the trades you took, or based upon the numbers that you entered in here. So based upon the average return per trade and how many trades you took, so 15, it calculated that number for you. So in this case here, it would have made you $3,000, and you're just shy of your goal of $4,000 per month. So let's say instead of taking 0.5% risk, I bump it up to 1% risk. We can model it out again, and we can see what changes there, right? So for changing that, you can see some of the numbers there. That may change, again, this line here. So that might increase the average return per trade, because now I'm increasing my risk. Let's say that now gets our average return per trade up to 500, and you can see now that we're greatly exceeding our goal. So you can begin to model what could happen if you take on more risk or less risk, and what that's going to do to your monthly income targets. Next line down is the expenses section. As a business, we're trying to capture all those expenses, make them very clear, and here you can enter all of them in there, so you're very aware of what expenses your business is incurring. And finally, at the bottom line, here, we're determining just how much our target ROI is and what we're trying to grow our account size by. You can even see here at this line here, we have a little line where I have the ability to actually withdraw money from my account in case I have to pay bills or pay the rent or whatever. We can actually pull that out of our income here, and that is reflected here. And finally, at the bottom, you can kind of see your equity curve. So based upon the actual or based upon the projected income and your goal line, that's showing up in purple there. Okay, so it's a very important exercise to do this. Of course, it's simply a planning exercise. This won't be reality. And so that's why we have the final tab, the actual tab. Because the actual tab is where we capture the actual results from our trading, where the rubber meets the road. So here, it's like the 12-month plan, but here you're actually going to type in the real results you're getting as you trade month by month, quarter by quarter, year to year. Okay, and we're going to be capturing all of that, entering it in here, and then comparing that with our 12-month plan. Because if we're deviating too greatly from our 12-month plan, then we need to readjust our plan, right? As any good business. If we see in our business that, growth is not what we expected, then we need to get ahead of that instead of trying to chase that, or instead of trying to pretend that it's going in the right direction. If things are truly not going in the right direction, it's better to be honest with ourselves and plan accordingly. Maybe this means adjusting our targets lower in terms of what we're going to accomplish that year, or again, it may be a very or maybe there has to be a very honest discussion had with the trader to understand why the expectations are not being met. Is it a combination of environment, trader, both, something else? That's the type of language and conversation we need to have here. But it all begins with the planning calculator, right? So this is where we can model the growth of our business and then layer on reality to see whether or not we can actually match or exceed those expectations. And this ends up being a kind of a virtuous cycle, because what we find out later on is that our reality rarely meets our expectations, our plan. But that keeps us honest, because as we create our next year's plan, we can adjust that accordingly based upon having the experience of planning out the previous year. So if you take it as a discipline and as a practice to work on this business modeling, it will greatly, greatly improve your results and the management of your business.